Hello and welcome to the Satori Software eDocs Made Easy webinar. This discussion is intended to compare and contrast the Mail.dat and Mail.xml methods of electronic documentation as they apply to the Satori Software bulk mailer product. I'm Rob Perrin, the Director of Merchandising for Satori Software, and with me today is Kim Mauch, our Postal Product Specialist. Hello, Kim.
Hi, Rob.
How are you?
Doing great.
Fantastic. Now, I understand we're going to talk about electronic documentation today.
Yeah, this is a really interesting topic and very applicable to mailers in the industry today.
Now, I understand that there's some confusion about the two formats and when they are appropriate, and perhaps one of them may be more tool for the job or maybe just right, and you're going to walk us through all of this.
Yeah, there's definitely different options that you can use for electronic documentation, and selecting the right option is really important for each mailer.
Fantastic. Let's go ahead and get started then. I'll hand over the pointer to you.
Great. Thanks, Rob. So one of the first things we have to answer is what really is electronic documentation. And what it is it's an electronic version of the paperwork that you're taking physically to your post office today. So that's going to be your postage statement, your qualification reports, all of your bundle and container data if you're doing periodical mailings, and all of that intelligent mail barcode information. With electronic documentation, you're submitting that information directly into Postal One, which is the USPS database of all the mailings that they have in their system throughout the country. So there are a lot of reasons why you would want to use electronic documentation today, and probably the most popular is to be able to be eligible for the full service discount. Full service discounts are a good way for you to get a little bit of an extra bump in your discount from the post office by preparing your mailing, using electronic documentation, using unique barcodes, and you can get a little discount from each of those. You can get $1 per thousand for standard mail and periodicals, and you can get $3 per thousand discount for first class mail. In addition to that, the post office is also requiring electronic documentation for quite a few of the additional promotions and incentives programs that they have running. You'll also hear a lot from your different mail entry personnel that they really want to encourage you to use electronic documentation because that saves them steps as part of the mail entry process.
I know there's some confusion surrounding that. Full service is not currently required, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Currently, full service is not required. However, it is required for certain promotions and incentives. And a lot of mail clerks really, really like the streamlined processes that they have for full service mail, so they are actively encouraging mailers to move to full service. And also, it's a good idea for mailers to start getting into that practice because we do expect that full service will be mandated at some point in the future.
Got it. Electronic documentation is required for full service, but full service is not required yet.
Okay. That's right.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about the different options that you have for electronic documentation. The first one that's available is called the Postal Wizard, and this is a way for you to enter your mailing information directly into Postal One using a website. So basically what you would do is you would log in to the USPS website, gateway.usps.com. You have to navigate over to the Postal Wizard area, and then you manually type in all of the things that are in your postage statement. So that's how many pieces are in each rate, what your permit information is, and identifying which barcodes you're using for that mailing. So it can be a little bit of a tedious process. And also, if you're doing full service, you can't use the Postal Wizard for mailings that are over 10,000 pieces. So it's not really a good option for a lot of mailers because every once in a while you wind up with that one mailing that's over 10,000 pieces, even if you are a small mailer, and then you have to adopt an entirely different process for those mailings alone.
And 10,000 isn't really that many pieces. You can get there pretty rapidly.
You know, you get to the end of the year, you've got that big catalog mailing or that big Christmas push, and you wind up having that one mailing that just pushes you right over that limit, and then you're going to have to choose a different way of submitting your electronic documentation.
With your connections in the industry, I imagine your Christmas card list alone is over 10,000.
It can seem that way at times, that's for sure. Yeah. So anytime you need to submit a qualification report, that's another important part with the Postal Wizard, is it does not replicate the qualification report. So if you're using that, you would have to generate your qualification report separately. So it's an extra step that you probably wouldn't want to do if you're going straight through to electronic documentation. So if you can't use the Postal Wizard, or if you don't want to, then your next option is to choose between the two stalwarts, Mail.dat or Mail.xml. And they have a lot of similarities. So in a lot of ways, they're very similar. They both support mailings over 10,000 pieces. You can have millions and millions of pieces in your mailing, and both can be represented by Mail.dat and Mail.xml. And of course, those really small mailings as well. They can represent mailings of all different types of complexities, everything from a straightforward automation standard mail all the way to mixed class co-mail and all the complexities thereof. And they both require some software to generate. So you'll need to have some type of a pre-sortation part of your product in order to generate this information, which actually can be a good thing because it's going to contain all of that information, the postage statement, the qualification report, all the barcodes that are generated as part of that software are just neatly packaged together in these two different options, and they're both fully supported by Postal One. So they do have a lot of similarities, but there are some key ways that they're very, very different.
This is the part I'm interested in. I always get confused as to which one is appropriate to me as a small or medium-sized mailer.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing because they really are tailored to two different types of mailers. So let's take a look at the differences between them. So Mail.dat is a fixed database. So basically when you run your pre-sort, you're going to save a file, and it's actually a set of files. So you're going to have a folder, you're going to have to keep track of it, you're going to need to make sure that you identify that this folder is for all of the mail for this specific mailing. You'll need to submit that using a USPS tool. And so generally Mail.dat tends to be more geared towards the larger mailer. If you have post pre-sort software, or if you're working with a commingler or a logistics company, if you're a really big mailer, then Mail.dat is a really good tool for you. However, it can be a little bit of overkill for those small and medium-sized mailers because you do have to have that overhead of saving the file, and how do you make sure that your mail that the Mail.dat file that you saved is linking up to the one that you're submitting later, and it can be a little bit confusing to keep track of that over time.
And correct me if I'm wrong here. Mail.dat is actually complex enough and powerful enough that there are dedicated tools that do nothing but manipulate Mail.dat files. Our Monticello product, for example.
Exactly. And so a lot of people who use Mail.dat do have a post pre-sort tool because generally those are the mailers that are going to have a lot of things that happen after they do the pre-sort. So maybe they're going to combine several of their mailings. If they have several mailings that they do every single day, they're going to combine them onto mutual pallets, or they're going to do some entry load validation and optimization. And so it can be a really, really powerful tool, but if you're only doing a couple mailings a day, it can really be a little bit more overkill. So we find that Mail.dat is really good for those mailers who are doing quite a few mailings a day, and they're doing a lot of volume, they're doing a lot of drop shipments, and doing and kind of those higher end things. Now, Mail.xml is a little bit simpler, and so what it has is instead of a big file that you save off, there's these short little messages. They're almost like little text messages that you're sending off to the post office. Here's my postage statement information. Here's my qualification report, and the post office comes right back with a response saying, yes, I got that information, give me more. And so it can be a very quick conversation with the post office that's done completely behind the scenes. You just do a few quick clicks in your software, and that mailing is already up and in Postal One, ready to go. You don't even have to leave your native software package to make that happen. And so for that, because there isn't a lot of extra overhead of saving a file and keep tracking of that, it's a really good tool for those small and medium-sized mailers because they'll be able to just completely get everything done within their software package. They don't have to monitor another tool or do anything like that. So it's a really streamlined package for those mailers.
It sounds like Mail.dat is worth the investment, but that's the key point. There is an investment in Mail.dat, whereas Mail.xml you just pretty much run with.
Yeah, you just set it and forget it pretty much. It's a really nice tool. Mail.dat can be really valuable for people who need that extra work. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the nice things that we can show you here is how this represents itself in the real world. So using Mail.xml, this is some screenshots from our bulk mailer product that has Mail.dat built in. And basically what it is this is just another way of submitting your information directly from within the bulk mailer interface. So you enter in your Postal One information. If you need to make some small changes to your settings, maybe you need to change the mailing date, maybe you need to change a piece weight or something like that, you can make that information change right on the fly there. and then you click Finish, and that sends that directly up to Postal One. You wait a few minutes, and then you get a confirmation page to let you know that your mailing is ready to go, and you can take it directly into the post office.
That's it?
That's
easy,
it.
Easy as 1, 2, 3.
It's really that easy. It's a very straightforward process, and like I said, it's built right into the software, so you don't even have to leave it. You don't have to worry about making sure that you have another tool updated. It's all right there and ready to go for you.
For a small or medium-sized mailer, there's no good reason not to do this.
Yeah, I mean, really, unless you're doing those really complex processes of co-mailing or co-mingling or doing, entry point optimization and all these fancy things, you really don't need a big tool like Mail.dat for that.
I can see why.
Yeah, so let me show you a little bit of what that looks like in Mail.dat. So one of the things that you'll see is with Mail.dat, you've got a lot of things going on. So before you even get to the screenshots that are on this page, you have to save that Mail.dat file on your machine. So you save it out of your pre-sort software, you save it into a folder on your machine. You got to make sure that it's labeled in a way that you remember what mailing that's attached to. And then what you do is you have to go into the USPS website, gateway.usps.com, and you have to log in and download this. It's called the MDR Client, or the Mail.dat client. And so you have to download this tool. They update it regularly. You have to download it at least 3 or 4 times a year. Sometimes there are bugs with it. There are all kinds of little glitches that can happen as part of this. They don't really have a good notification process when they update this either. You don't really know until you try and run it and it doesn't work that you need to download a new version. So basically you have to go download that version of the Mail.dat client, then you sign in, you have to find where you upload a file, you have to validate the file, and then you finally upload it, and then eventually you get your Mail.dat file uploaded, and then you have a kind of a clunky interface here, and then you've still got that file that's saved on your local machine, and you don't really know what to do. Do you archive it for your history? How do you manage those files, because they're going to build up over time. They're going to start taking up some space on your hard drive. So again, for larger mailers, they would use a post pre-sort tool in between the pre-sort step and the submission step, and they'd be able to do some complicated things. But for the small and medium-sized mailers, it can be a little bit of overkill and a little bit daunting to keep track of the different versions of the Mail.dat client.
So as a small or medium-sized mailer, Mail.dat might be something for me to aspire to, because that means my mail volumes have gone to the point where I need it. But it might be overkill both in capacity as well as the amount of work required for the mailings that I have today.
Yeah, if you want something that's just going to take you a few minutes just to go and submit that mailing directly to Postal One, Mail.xml can be a really easy tool. It doesn't require a lot of additional training. Mail.dat can have some significant overhead. So, but if you have the mail volume for it, it's a really great tool, and it can completely describe those larger and more complex mailings.
So small to medium-sized mailer, it's effectively a cost savings to go with Mail.xml simply because you don't have the overhead of Mail.dat.
Time is money.
Time is money.
Really
I heard
is.
that somewhere. Can I quote you on that?
I don't know. I think somebody may have already gotten that one. But yeah, it's time really is money, and training and maintenance can really eat away at those little precious minutes that you have while you're at work. And so any way you can streamline that process can be a win. Yeah.
Either way, it sounds like you win, but losing some overhead with Mail.xml might be a smart move.
Yep.
Fantastic. What sort of next steps have we got?
So the next steps, obviously, if you have any questions about Mail.dat or Mail.xml, feel free to contact us here at Satori Software. We do fully support both Mail.dat and Mail.xml. We have Mail.dat all the way from creation out of pre-sort through the post pre-sort solution there. Mail.xml we have built in automatically. It's free with your bulk mailer product that you can purchase from us if you're interested, or if you already have it. That information is already embedded in your bulk mailer product today.
So as a bulk mailer user, I would have the option.
Yeah, it's already there. You don't need an add-on. You don't need anything else. It's already turned on and ready to go.
And if I were to give this 800 number a call, they could take care of me, get me set up, perhaps even advise me on which one I should be using.
Yeah. All of our sales staff are well acquainted with the different versions of electronic documentation, and they should be able to help you out with that.
Perfect. I can't thank you enough, Kim. You've cleared the air for me on this. I was always confused about which one was going to be appropriate for whom.
Yeah, and a lot of people have just adopted Mail.dat thinking there wasn't another solution. And so it's really important to know that Mail.xml is out there. It's fully supported by USPS, and it really can be a time savings.
Kim Mauch, Postal Product Specialist for Satori Software. Thank you so much for this. This has been very enlightening.
All right, thanks, Rob.
From all of us here at Satori Software, I'd like to thank you for watching this webinar. We hope that it was both useful and informative. If you have questions about bulk mailer, Satori Software, or any of the Satori Software products, please feel free to give us a call.